Hi everybody, it's 9:30 here in Vancouver. So let's begin. Welcome to our webinar today. It's great to see people logging in and joining us. Our webinar today is on the Master of Geomatics for Environmental Management. My name is Shane Moore from the Faculty of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies. I'll be helping to host today's webinar. One of the aims of today's webinar is to answer your questions. So if you do have any questions, please post them in the Q&A. So please use the Q&A to post any questions. You can also upvote questions. So if you see a question that somebody else has posted and you really want to hear the answer to that one, make sure that you upvote it, and we're going to answer as many questions as possible today. I'm really excited for you to meet the team today and to hear more about the Faculty of Forestry and also this program. But before we begin, I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that we're broadcasting today from the traditional, ancestral and unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh people. And as guests on this land, it's a great honor to be able to live here, to learn and to work on these lands. And what I've just spoken there is called a land acknowledgement. Many of you will have heard this before, but if not, you'll often hear land acknowledgements during your time at UBC, and that's because UBC Vancouver is located on the traditional territory of the Musqueam. The Musqueam are one of the First Nations of Canada. And what I'd encourage you to do, I know you're doing your research right now, you're reading more about UBC, you're reading about forestry and its programs, but as part of your research, I'd also encourage you to read more about the history of these lands, and particularly the Musqueam. And to help you with that, I'll post a couple of links into the chat shortly to get you started. But without further ado, I'm going to pass you over now to Professor Nicholas Coops, who's going to talk more about the Faculty of Forestry and also the MGEM program. Over to you, Nicholas.
Great, thanks, Shane. And it's a great pleasure to welcome all of you on the call to understand and learn more about the Masters for Geomatics for Environmental Management, or the MGEM program, as we call it, and we'll call it throughout the rest of the hour today. Like Shane said, we really encourage you to ask questions, so put those in the chat and we'll have a Q&A session and answer all of those before the hour is up. So really encourage you to feel free to do that. This is your chance to learn more and hear more about the program. As Shane said, we're based in the forestry faculty here at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada. So even though MGEM is not specifically focused on forestry, forestry is where most of the GIS, remote sensing and programming research is done at UBC. And so it's a great faculty in which to be focused on and based, even though the program itself is not necessarily focused 100% on forestry or at all on the forest industry. So it's just the location, and a lot of the research is done in this faculty. So it's a natural place that we run the program from there. We have a magnificent building that we use called the Forest Science Centre, which you can see up there on the left-hand side, and the MGEM space where students get a desk. You get the equipment to go away and do the masters is based in this building. And so you would come to this building every day for the program. UBC Forestry, though, has research forests that we'll touch on in a minute. One is about an hour and a half from Vancouver, and so we occasionally go out there into the forest as well. For example, to use drones to see the forest. We have a retreat that's out there to sort of get us out of the city and into the natural forests of British Columbia as well as part of the program. Next slide, please. So the MGEM program is a master's. You will, once you finish the program, you'll get a master's in geomatics for environmental management. It's a 9-month program, so it's an intensive master's program. So this distinguishes it from a research program where you go and do a research master's. These course-based masters are much faster and much more intensive, and you would get your degree in 9 months rather than doing a research master's over 2 or 3 years. So these programs are specifically designed to give you a set of professional skills, some of those in the area of GIS, remote sensing, programming, statistics, landscape ecology, but also other tools around communication, work planning, team management, team building, and different other skills that you might need. For example, if you're going to go and work as a consultant in this area, or you want to go and work in the government using geomatics, you have both the skills in terms of geomatics, but also professional skills that will kickstart your career as well. It's 9 months, which means you would start in August and go through till April. So that's how the 9-month comes about. You start your tuition payments in July. And there are 3 installments of tuition payments for the program. But in terms of you actually arriving at UBC, you don't need to arrive to UBC till around mid-August. So the actual being in the room and starting to learn in the program starts mid-August. So that's what you should plan on in terms of your arriving at UBC. That's when you would arrive, and then the program would finish in April 2025. Thanks, Sean. So I mentioned the program itself is a mix then of very technical skills, building up your understanding of geographic information systems and remote sensing. There's a strong focus on programming, but there's also some hands-on learning. For example, I mentioned we go into the lab, into the forest, we use drones. There's a range of different other equipments you can use, like GPS, other forestry-based equipments for measuring trees, measuring heights of trees, looking at vegetation and how we measure that in the environment. There's a range of different equipment that you use and learn in the time that you're in the program itself. We start with a week-long retreat in the last week of August. Once you arrived at UBC, we go away together. We do some of these outdoor activities as well as the indoor learning. And then we have our term in September and our term in January, where we go and do these learning with the lectures. We have labs, projects, and workshops. We also have a variety of activities that happen throughout the 9 months, including one where we have industry come and meet our cohort for each year, and they come and try to entice you to come and work for them as a geospatial professional. So we have lots of opportunities for you to work with industry and meet them through the program as well. Thanks, Shane. The mixture of courses, there's broad landscape level environmental management courses, one particularly focused on landscape ecology and modeling, that introduces many of the core environmental themes, for example, carbon or water or those overarching themes of the program itself. So that's one course that you do. You then have these very focused courses around GIS, remote sensing, image processing, statistics, and so on, programming I mentioned, and then these professional development courses and workshops that align us with industry. Next. And it's a mixture then of doing that in the classroom, in Vancouver itself, and then having opportunities to go into the outdoors in British Columbia and apply these tools in a practical sense. Next, thanks. So a question we often get is, MGEM right for me? So that's the way I would think about that would be, if you are someone who has gone through an undergraduate degree and you want another degree, so you'd like to get a master's in order to move faster through the workforce, you are very interested in gathering skills and tools to go and use things like geospatial data, remote sensing, and GIS. Maybe in your current job, you have seen those data sets and you'd like to work out how to use them more. Or maybe you're an undergraduate who feels you need to learn more about different topics, and this is a particular area of interest. So you've got some basic understanding, perhaps you've seen these technologies, you understand a little bit about them, but you'd like to learn more in a much more intensive way so that you can actually go to an employer and say, I have a detailed understanding of this skill set. So you would then leapfrog any undergraduate because you would have done much more around these courses than anyone would have done in an undergraduate degree. So it's really about building your skill set in this area well above what you would do in an undergraduate degree, so that when you do apply for a position, you'd be able to say that you have this professional skill set. And I would think you would be able to portray yourself as a geospatial scientist, a geospatial analyst, these are the types of titles that you might give yourself if you finished the program and then went and got a job. So the sort of people we do get coming into the program would be conservation students, forestry students, environmental science students, people looking at taking those skills they've learned in an application and then learning more about how to apply that in a geospatial context. And really, as this slide says, this is a really valuable area in terms of jobs. They fall often under the green jobs umbrella because they're very environmentally focused. And this use of geospatial information is massively increasing, as we all know. We know drones are being used much more. We all use our GPS in our cars and our phones all the time. We make maps all the time. We use Google Earth. So all of these tools are around us, and it's around building our skill set in that area. And our alumni get a wide variety of jobs, but all in that area of using geospatial information to help decision makers manage the environment better. So enough from me. We've actually got a couple of alumni, someone who has finished the program and then someone who's currently in it, to talk to us a bit about their experiences and also answer any questions you might have. So it's a pleasure to thank and welcome Olivia Waite. Olivia was a MGEM cohort from 21-22. So welcome, Olivia, and it'll be great to hear from you about your experiences and thoughts about the program.
Thanks, Nicholas. So hi, everyone. I'm Olivia. I was a student, as Nicholas said, in the 2021 to 2022 cohort, and I'm currently working as a research associate in the Integrated Remote Sensing Studio at UBC, looking at tree health with drone-acquired data. And I have nothing but praise for the program. I greatly enjoyed getting to work with real-life data and on real-life issues through the labs and forming professional relationships, whether that was through volunteering or the capstone project. And overall, I think the program gave me the skills that I needed to transition from what I did in my undergrad to the future career that I wanted in geomatics, whether that was stats, programming, landscape ecology, the necessary professional skills, GIS skills, all that Nicholas had mentioned as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about how it was in the program, life after the program, anything along those lines. And for now, I'll throw it to you, Fitz.
Thanks, Olivia. Yeah, as Olivia and Nicholas mentioned, I'm a current MGEM student. We're just starting our second month in the program. And similar to Olivia, so far I've got nothing but praise and good things to say about the program. I came to MGEM from an undergraduate geography background without much of the sort of coding experience, and so I started the program looking to gain those technical skills that would be hopefully useful in either academia or the workplace that Nicholas mentioned earlier. So far, I say the layout of the course, the skills that we're learning, it's been really enjoyable experience to kind of gain those skills, and it's also been really enjoyable for me, who'd been out of school for some time, to go back to an academic setting and be part of UBC. So overall, 2 months in, I've got nothing but good things to say about the program, the Faculty of Forestry, and also UBC as a whole.
Great, thanks, Fitz. So it's a pleasure to introduce Kathleen Copeland. Kathleen is our program coordinator. So she's one of the people that works with the MGEM students virtually every day, ensuring that your learning is proceeding well. She also helps lead many of the workshops that we have. So welcome, Kathleen. You're going to throw a couple of questions to both Olivia and Fitz around what they got out of the program.
Hi, thanks, Nicholas, and thanks, Olivia and Fitz, for being here today. So to start off, I was hoping, I'm going to ask you guys a couple of questions and just to sort of go and dive a little bit more into depth about the program. So I'd like to start off with Olivia. Maybe you could dive into the idea of sort of what is it like being in the MGEM program and part of an intensive course-based master's?
Be happy to. Definitely a question that I wanted answered when I first joined the program. But overall, so as a 9-month, as Nicholas mentioned, master's program, it is going to be a decent amount of work. Personally, I found it was definitely doable, and for myself, almost the perfect amount. It wasn't too much that I was oversaturated with information, but I also um, definitely needed to review lecture notes or review labs or work on labs definitely daily. So something to keep in mind when doing this program versus maybe a thesis-based master's is that you will have a lot of coursework coming from many different courses. So yes, have to be ready for just taking in an array of information that I personally love learning that way. So really enjoyed it. Something to touch on there as well is you're not alone when you do this. You have a great support network of TAs, but also your cohort. The cohort was one of my favorite parts of MGEM because you go through every course together. So you're able to form really great relationships with everyone in your group. And also when you might not grasp a concept very well, someone in your cohort likely did. So they're able to teach it back to you in a way you might understand better, and you can do vice versa for them. So, and I still have friends from the cohort to this day, which I really enjoy.
Awesome. Thanks, Olivia. Fitz, I'm going to ask you a very sort of similar question, except for you're in the thick of it right now. You're progressing through the MGEM program, and sort of what is it like? What is the intensity, and sort of what does your day-to-day look like as part of the MGEM program?
Sure. I think I'll start with the sort of the intensity side. It definitely does. The intensity, I'd say, definitely builds fairly fast in terms of the workloads. But so far, the main thing I'd say is that it's very progressive in terms of what's being asked of us. So yeah, everything is kind of built from the ground up. So whilst there is a decent amount of work to be done, there's nothing kind of that's being asked of us that we're not really being taught in class. The other on the day-to-day, pretty much on campus every day. I'd say most people are on campus 9 to 5. And just to sort of touch on that point that Nicholas made is that the MGEM program, we have our own classroom. So you have got a little space where you have your own desk, you have your own little setup, and between classes, you can go there. All of your classes are in there. So you almost have a mini office on campus where you can kind of work between classes or work before and after class. In terms of like the kind of structure of the course so far, it's a mixture of lectures and lab work. But the one thing that, certainly I've really found helpful is that all of the lab work is you're working on the assignments that you have for that upcoming week. So your time in class is directly feeding into those assignments that you're doing.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And so one of the things that we talk a lot about with the MGEM program is that we provide sort of this technical sort of toolkit and also this suite of professional skills. So Olivia, I was hoping that you could maybe talk to what out of the technical skills did you enjoy learning the most, or have you found the most useful in the work that you're currently doing?
That's a great question. And I think the answer to this question will vary greatly depending on who you ask from my cohort, because everyone got very diverse jobs. But me personally, in research, it would definitely be the coding skills, specifically in R. I had a little bit of coding background coming into the program, but whether it was data manipulation, data processing, analysis, I learned all of that in the MGEM program. So that was really great. And I currently do use a little bit of Python as well, which we do learn a lot about in the program as well. But just want to quickly also mention that friends of mine, some jobs mostly are more GIS based or mapping based. And I have a friend who's also came from the program that is doing more landscape ecology right now and really using the stats that she learned at the program. So it really depends what you want to take out and what you want to do after the program, I guess, will be what you use the most.
Fitz, I'm going to ask you a very similar question, but obviously I can't ask you what technical skill you use the most post-program because you're currently still in it. So I guess I'm going to ask, what technical skill are you most looking forward to learning, and maybe why?
I'd say for me, the technical skill I'm most looking forward to was the coding skills. So I need to kind of briefly touch on that question that was in the Q&A. I came to the program having never coded before and never touched Python or anything like that. So that was something that I was really looking forward to kind of getting a handle on. It's just something that, you know, you see it everywhere in whether it's job postings or articles that you're reading, that it's just a really key skill that you can build up on, and everything else sort of revolves around. So that was the one that I am most looking forward to picking up.
And so Fitz, you said that you sort of came into the program with not a strong or big coding background. Do you feel that the program has offered you enough support and sufficient support to sort of kickstart coding and the sort of, because it can be a daunting topic to sort of go into sometimes. So can you just sort of maybe touch on the support that we provide in the coding heavy courses?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess like first and foremost, there's the kind of the technical support in terms of just the setup. So when you start the program, you get given you are loaned a laptop by UBC and the Department of Forestry, and everything is set up on that laptop. So all of your workspaces are there. It's not something, you know, it can be quite daunting trying to set up your own workspace in a programming language when you have no idea about what that language is and how it works. So just coming in and having everything set up for you on the laptop, first and foremost, was a really, really helpful thing. And then in terms of the content, the first few weeks, I'd say really are really starting at the basic levels of doing the basic things in those coding languages and getting those really basic skills. And then, I mean, it sort of certainly feels like we're at that point in the program, like 5 weeks in, where we're now starting to apply those. We're not just learning how to do the different steps in those different languages. We're now kind of actually beginning to be asked to problem solve with some guidance and also actually apply those problems to real life data sets. So it's definitely a gradual progression over these first 5 weeks.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to ask the last question to Olivia. Olivia, I was hoping that maybe you could talk to some of the professional skills that you gained from the program and how those have set you up for success.
Definitely. We did have some courses specifically focusing on those skills, but I do want to say the largest thing that I did take out professionally from the program was actually through volunteering and the capstone project that we have, which was the 599 course, particularly because it lets you form a relationship with a client where they might not necessarily have a remote sensing or GIS background. So you get the opportunity to speak with someone about what their hopes are and what they ideally want you to be able to present back to them at the end of this project. And then you get to take it away and look at methodology and research how you might go about to do that and then relay that information back. So I think that's a really realistic version of what will likely happen in the real world, especially in consulting. So definitely just being able to communicate with clients, I would say, in short, would be the best professional skill that I took out of the program.
All right. So there's going to be some time at the end where we are all going to be able to answer questions. So myself, Nicholas, Olivia, and Fitz and Lee as well. But right now we're going to sort of continue on with the presentation. I'm going to pass it off to Lee Yapitan, who is the Director of Admissions for the MGEM program. And she's going to talk more about the sort of admissions requirement and how do you become a member of the MGEM program. Lee?
Thank you, Kathleen. My name is Lee. As Kathleen mentioned, I'm actually one of the admissions coordinator for the Faculty of Forestry. MGEM is one of the programs that I do administer. And so I have been with MGEM for, I think, 4 years now. And I have to say that the quality and the number of applications we receive each year seems to be really strong. So I do encourage you guys to apply and put some effort into this application process. I have a few slides to go over. Hopefully this will help you in your preparation for the application process. As Nicholas mentioned, we accept an academic bachelor's degree from almost every faculty that's related. So it doesn't have to be forestry necessarily. and the minimum requirement that we're looking for is a minimum of 76%, which is about a B+ or 3.3 in North America transcripts. For international students, it's usually based on the overall degree, and it's also equivalent to a B+. On our admissions page, you can click on a link that takes you directly to the grad studies manual, and they'll tell you, depending on which country you're applying from, what the minimum requirement is. If your degree is from a country where English is not the official language, we will require an English language proficiency test. And so once again, there's a list of acceptable testing agencies, and you can find that on our webpage. I should mention that the application is open now, and we are accepting applications until February 15th. Next slide, please. And what does a complete application look like? So if you go to our admissions webpage, there is a link that takes you to the online application portal. There is an application fee, and you will need to upload official copies of your transcripts from every institution that you attended after high school. So if you did an exchange in the summer at another school, we will require those transcripts as well. We require 3 letters of references, and one of them should be an academic reference who can attest to your academic abilities, because this is a pretty intensive, program. So we want to ensure that you are prepared to be in this program. We also, like I said and mentioned earlier, the English test if needed. And there is a MGEM questionnaire that's built inside the application portal. I would recommend that you save that questionnaire first and then complete it and then upload it back to the application portal. So you have to save it first. And then there's a letter of intent and a resume or CV that you have to upload to the application portal as well. So this is an opportunity for you to let us know why you're interested in MGEM, what kind of skills you may have that will be an asset to this program. And like I said, once again, it's your opportunity to kind of tell us who you are and why you want to do this program. Next slide, please. And then if you have any further questions that may not be answered today, feel free to set up an advising appointment with myself. My email is there, forestry.cbm@ubc.ca. And on our webpage, there's also a link that will take you to a calendar where you can book an appointment. And we are happy to speak with you to guide you through this process. We understand that it can be a little bit stressful sometimes, so we're here to help you along the way. And this concludes my part, or our part of the presentation. I'll hand it over to Shane, who will be, I believe, helping with the Q&A.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks, everyone. That was really excellent, really insightful. So now it's time to answer your questions. So I'm going to run through some of the questions that you submitted as part of the registration. But also, if you do have any questions that are coming to mind now, if you've heard our speakers today, do post them in the Q&A, and we're going to answer those for you now. I know we've already talked about this, but I do just want to loop back to the first question we've had in from Matteo, who's just asking, how intensive is the coding in the program and what background in coding is required. I know that we've talked about that. You don't need that coding background, but could you maybe just loop back to that? It is absolutely no coding okay, and then once you're in the program, like how intensive is that learning experience when you're learning to code?
Sure. So no coding is required to enter the program. No coding is required to enter the program. So you do not have to have done an undergraduate degree course in programming at all. There's no requirement for that. We will start the first class assuming you know no programming. So you don't need to be worried about that. As Kathleen said, we appreciate that it's a bit daunting sometimes thinking about coding, but you will sit in the first class and we will assume you know nothing. That being said, I think you want to learn coding. And that's what I appreciated what Fitz said as well. You need to be passionate and be interested in learning about coding, because a lot of the course is coding. It's either directly learning how to code, or it's learning how to code within a GIS or within a remote sensing system, or to process some remote sensing data. So by the time you leave the program, you will naturally be able to use either R or Python to answer many of the questions that you come across in your job. So if you are not at all interested in coding, have no desire to learn coding, and hope that you won't need to, this is not the program for you. But if you are interested in the idea of coding, would really like to know how to do it, but haven't had any experience, then this is the program for you. So I hope that gives you some confidence around that.
That's great. Thanks for that clarity. Another great question from Matteo. How essential is knowledge of the local ecology when coming into this program?
Kathleen, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I can answer that. I think this question sort of goes back to this idea that the MGEM program is hosted through the Faculty of Forestry, but it's not necessarily a forestry program. And so I would say that the local knowledge that you would need to have coming in is very low. And we have no expectations that incoming students would really have a deep understanding of local ecology. And the landscape sort of level ecology course, because of how it's sort of set up and structured, it's not going to be asking you to ID plants or ID trees. It's sort of looking at these bigger, broader scale phenomena that happen on the landscape. Olivia, I don't know if maybe this is something you wanted to sort of add on. Coming in, what was your knowledge of local ecology, and how do you feel that sort of incoming knowledge level would be?
I think that's a great question. Very low. Coming in, I came in from a science background, but not an environmental science. I came in from just a physics background. So no local ecology whatsoever, especially for BC. I was coming in from Ontario, and I was actually a little nervous to start the landscape ecology section because of that. Excuse me, because of that, but I found it, like all of the courses, they're really great at starting from a baseline and moving on quickly, which is great because you do get to a very high level of knowledge at the end, but you are able to start at the beginning. So that's also in part why it's such an intensive 9-month program, because you do go through that shift in many different subjects, but it is doable. I really enjoyed it. And overall, you do not need knowledge of local ecology before coming in, personally.
That's great. Thanks, everyone. Next question from Satyam. I mean, we know the program is intensive, but they're asking, is there enough time for part-time commitments, such as part-time work or volunteering outside of the program? Is that possible?
So I can answer that. It would be generally undesirable. So as both, I think, Fitz and Olivia have said, it's an intensive program. You know, you're in every day. You've got classes on most days, and then you're doing assignments when you don't have classes. There's also group activities that you want to do as the cohort. You need a bit of a social life. There's opportunities to go and do different workshops that we organize. So it is difficult to see how paid part-time employment is compatible with that. We have had people ask this question before, and in most cases we say, well, we always say, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult for you to be able to do that, because not because you're completely overloaded, but because it is an intensive program and you need the time to do your assignments and attend the lectures and just be here. Fitz, what would you say to that question, even in your initial 5 weeks? Do you know of any current members who have part-time positions?
Well, it's actually, Nicholas, I'm working part-time, like through the program. But I would sort of definitely, I think I had a pretty unique situation in that it was a job that I'd been working in for nearly 8 years beforehand. So they were very flexible in letting me, you know, basically do half an hour to an hour a day, kind of just like dotted through the week, I definitely wouldn't recommend it. And if I would rather not be working through the program if I could.
Great, thanks. I think that's an honest assessment. Then, you know, perhaps it's possible, but you'd want it to be very flexible, and it wouldn't be ideal. I mean, you know, our idea is you become so educated by doing the masters, you go and get a really good job, which gives you a salary much more than if you hadn't done the program, and that's why you know, there's significant career benefits in doing it. We appreciate it's a lot of money to spend, as it is for anyone, but it is important to really focus on getting through the program as best you can, take as many of the opportunities that you can that the program offers to leave in a really good position to get a good job. Thanks, Shane.
Great answers. Thanks, everyone. Han Chen asks, well, they say they have some considerable experience working as a GIS analyst. Would this program be able to offer training for me to go to the next step? And what resources are available for pursuing a career?
Yep. So perhaps I'll let the career part go to you, Kathleen. I'll start by saying, like we've all said, you don't need a basis in GIS to come into the program. So if you've already had significant GIS experience, maybe you've done 1 or 2 courses in your undergrad, or maybe you've worked in GIS, then you will find the first few weeks, the first month, first 6 weeks, revision. Because, you know, we are starting with students that have had no experience. So, you know, if you do have previous experience in some of these areas, then there will be an element of revision, at least initially, as the course begins. If you'd like to speak to me, Han Chen, you're welcome to reach out to me or Kathleen privately after this, and we can talk in more detail around what your experience already is. If you've had lots and lots and lots of GIS experience, then maybe this program is not for you. So it isn't necessarily for everyone. So if you do have a lot of experience in the area, then maybe it's not worth the time and money to learn more, because maybe it becomes principally revision. So I'm happy to talk to you about your past experiences, what you've done, and then we can look at the syllabus and we can sort of say, okay, how much of this is new or not. That's in terms of the content. Kathleen, do you want to talk a little bit about how we try to prepare students in terms of their career?
Yeah, so that's definitely something that we really try to sort of emphasize and promote in the program, is that this idea that you can have really great technical skills, but to really sort of thrive in almost any industry, you sort of need to bring these professional skills and this sort of professional sort of attitude to the work that you're doing. So one of the things that we try to support throughout the program is making sure that the students are leaving with this sort of suite of what we call professional skills. Some of these are I'm going to say like hard taught in the program through the different F-Core courses. And some of them are skills that I can confidently say that every student leaves with, but we don't formally teach it. And a good example of that is time management. Because the program is intense, we sort of try to make sure that every student you know, has the tools to plan their time and move forward. In terms of other career steps, so we traditionally do a sort of a career, we call it career conversations, where we invite a whole bunch of industry members to come and talk to you guys as a group. So I think last year we had people from 13 different companies, mostly based in the Lower Mainland, and they got to sort of sit, there was this panel, and respond to questions from the students. And these questions range from everything of what do you look for in a resume, and what are you looking for in an employee that you want to keep around long term. And this allowed the students to connect with members in the industry who are working in and around the Lower Mainland for companies that work sort of on a national or international level, and build those sort of one-on-one connections. We also do a cover letter and resume building workshop. We are in the midst of organizing a sort of portfolio building workshop with this idea that the online interface is really important for showing off all the great work that you do. We have an MGEM password locked job board where we sort of pull jobs that we think would be of interest to either recent or new graduates or alumni. And so one of the things that I would say about the MGEM program is that you're not just an MGEM student while you're in the program, but you continue to be a part of that network when you leave the program. I have students reach out from, multiple years past, sort of trying to find maybe a different job, or they're trying to shift what they're doing, and they reach out to me to see what connections I might have. And so it's really this big growing cohort and network of students. And so maybe that was sort of a big answer to that question, but we really do try to make sure that the students are set up with connections, that they have the opportunity to network, that they have the opportunity to meet individuals in industry, to leave the program and be very successful.
That's great, really insightful. Thanks for all of that info. Oh, sorry, Lee, go on.
Can I just add to what Kathleen was saying, that we do have a graduate newsletter that goes out every week, and if we see any job postings like GIS or any job postings, we do have a section for employment opportunities, and we add it in there as well. So we have grad listserv for our alumni for MGEM as well, and I know sometimes we have job postings that come up, and Kathleen will send it off to the alumni cohort as well. Thanks.
That's great. Yeah, one of the things that's really coming across to me is the community around the program. Obviously the student community, but also the alumni community, which seems to be a great network that you can tap into and a resource as you build your career. Thanks for those insights. I'm just going to switch across now and pose some of the questions that we received from people as part of the registration. But if you do have any more questions, do keep posting them in the Q&A, and we're going to be here for a little while longer. But there was a question here about the admissions requirements, and it says that it's stated in the admissions requirements that the applicant should prove the completion of a basic statistics and course and showcase the understanding of computer systems and other skills such as technical writing. The question is, would it be appropriate to prove through transcripts the statistics requirement and also through the CV for other skills such as the technical writing? Would that be the best way to showcase that you have those skills as part of the application?
So I can take on this question, I think. So I would say that sort of broadly and holistically, when we ask for these certain skills of incoming students, we, depending on what the skill is, we'll sort of look at either the CV, we'll also look at an official transcript, and we'll sort of look at it all sort of collectively as a whole. But also, so for something like the statistics, we would like to see that on your CV. We have in the past, when students have, or applicants have reached out, we have, accepted some of the Coursera courses showing that you have sort of gone beyond and gotten that stats course. That's sort of been what we have allowed when students have maybe been out of their undergrad for a couple years, and it's sort of the only thing that's missing, just to show that dedication. For the other skills, so understanding of computer systems and other skills such as technical writing, we're looking for how it's a holistic sort of look, is what I would say, from how is your application written, what sort of language are you using? Are you using the technical words appropriately in that application? Do you have evidence of that in your transcript and on your CV? So I would say that we're not looking for, one thing listed in one specific spot necessarily, but sort of a more holistic view that shows evidence of all of these things.
That's great. Yeah, no, it's really interesting to hear about that holistic approach. Maybe I could ask Fitz and Olivia. I mean, you both applied to the program relatively recently. Well, especially you, Fitz, you applied very, very recently. Would you have any tips on the application? How did you go about putting together a strong application for the program? Do you want to start on that, Fitz?
I think, yeah, of course. I think I really just tried to sort of tried to emphasize how this program was going to help me get to where I wanted to be in terms of like a career in sort of sustainability, environmental management, and you know, climate change. So I really tried to like put that emphasis on you know, not just, you know, kind of communicate that this wasn't just a way of, you know, getting a master's degree, that this degree was going to help me build a career, and sort of try to communicate that through my both my cover letter, the questionnaire, and also the CV, because I think that then, you know, I think probably to the people who are reading that, to sort of communicates that you've got the you know, the motivation and the kind of desire to learn.
I had a very similar approach as you, Fitz, going in. I, to be honest, don't remember too much about my application being that it was so long ago, but I do remember that I put a lot of effort into the letter of intent, and tried to highlight the skills that I brought into the program and how I might be a help to other members in the cohort, but also just that I wanted to switch the career path that I was currently on and what inspired me to do so.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's really great advice. I think showing why this program is right for you and how it's going to help you achieve your goals is really good advice. Nicholas or Lee or Kathleen, have you got anything to add to this? I mean, is there anything that when you read it in an application you get excited about? Is there anything that you look for when you review applications?
No, I think Kathleen's talked about that very well. I think put effort and time into it. We want to see a real passion towards why you're interested in doing geomatics, as opposed to any other course-based master's program or research program that you could enter into. So some clear demonstration in that letter of intent around why you think this is a great skill set to develop, how you'd like to think you might go away and use those skills in getting a job, and for us to see that passion. So put the time and energy into that letter of intent, so we can, or the cover letter, so we can really see that passion. It gives us a strong sense of what you would be like as a member of the cohort.
Yeah, I was
Great.
just going to add, sort of with passion, but also something, you know, about you can let your personality come through in your letter of intent and in what you write. Geomatics is an incredibly broad field. What area specifically are you interested in? And you know that when I sometimes look at some of the cover letters, that's what makes me really excited, is when you get a glimpse into who this person is that's applying, whether it's passion or just sort of who you are and what is your character, and sort of who are you, is always really nice to see, because you know every person is a unique individual applying, and you can let some of that come through.
That's excellent. Okay, it's really great advice. Thank you. A couple of questions have come here. First one from Malcolm. Is the application fee a must to apply? Is there any room to waive the application fee? I do know that at the UBC level. Sorry, Lee, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Thanks, Shane. We do. I think the United Nations have identified 50 countries that are least developed. And thank you, Shane, for posting that link. So if you click on that link, it will show you the list of countries. And if your citizenship and your corresponding address is in one of those countries, then on the application portal, if you indicate that in your citizenship, it will just override the application fee, and you don't have to worry about that. And another one, I believe, is if you're 65 years and older, a Canadian or a PR, and you're interested in the program, there's also an application fee waiver for that.
Thanks, Lee. That's a great summary. Satyam asks, are there any programming languages that we can try and learn on our own just to ease transition prior to joining?
So you could, I mean, of course, any additional learning you can do before you come into a program, I'm sure, will certainly make the initial part of the program easier. So if you wanted to do a bit of programming over the summer and learn some basics, you're welcome to do so. Of those three that you list, the two that we focus on in MGEM are Python and R. So they would be the two that I would focus on. If you were wanting to just learn a bit about what you might learn in the program, watching YouTube videos and so on those two languages would be useful. We don't cover or do any focus on JavaScript.
Great, thanks. And we had a couple of questions in as well through registration about funding and scholarships. Does the program have any scholarships at the moment?
So Lee can answer that.
Sure. At the moment, we don't have an entrance scholarship for, we do have a few, like there's one that's an Indigenous entrance scholarship, and you can find more information on our webpage. But the professional degrees in forestry are primarily self-funded by the students. Once you're in the program, we may have like a couple merit-based awards that are given out once they're in the program, but we don't have a teaching assistantship or research assistantship tied in to these programs, unlike our thesis-based programs.
That's great. Thanks, Lee. Okay, so we've got a few minutes to go. So if you've got any final questions, do let us know. Maybe I can just ask Olivia and Fitz just a little bit about life outside of the classroom. Like, what do you manage to do in your spare time? Are there any extracurricular activities in forestry or outside that you've had the chance to get involved with? It'd be great to sort of hear about what life's like around the program.
Yeah,
yeah,
I'd be
of course.
happy.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Fitz.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Thanks, Shane. Yeah. I was going to say we've talked a lot about this kind of how great the program is in terms of the skills and the learning you get, but I think another aspect is the sort of the MGEM community, the 30 people who you're in class with every day. It's definitely, I mean, because from the outset, a pretty tight-knit community of students, and I know there's like definitely people kind of going out doing things socially, whether it's exploring Vancouver and the surrounding area for those who are new to the area, going on hikes and that sort of stuff. Everyone in the program is pretty much working to the same schedule and has the same demands on their time. So it's definitely a good pool of people to go out and do social things with. There's also a lot of social events organized through the program. So, I mean, just tonight we have a social with the other professional-based masters that's organized kind of through the faculty. So there is although yeah, we've sort of talked a lot about the workload, there is definitely scope to still go out and do, you know, what you sort of consider to be the more, you know, to take part in student life, whether that's socializing or sports or other things around campus.
Yeah, I would second all of that. I had a very, very similar experience in my year. And also to note that I found really helpful is that everyone in the program, as Fitz said, is going through a very similar experience to you. So we'll understand in a very demanding week that week will be very demanding. So I often on those weeks would grab coffee with another friend in the program and bring our laptops with us. And we would do the labs at a coffee shop just to bring us into a new environment, which was just a really nice, low stress, relieving way of doing that kind of work. Also, there's a great grass space right outside forestry that we would love to just go to and maybe throw a frisbee or just hang out and get some sun when we needed it. So overall, just a great community that you could still hang out with inside and outside the program.
That's great. And it's so important. That's really great to hear that social aspect is there and that community is there. That's really important as a grad student. Okay, a couple more questions coming in here. Satyam asks, as someone who's coming from the UBC Urban Forestry program, I've not taken any accredited stats courses. Just curious to know how that could work. Would anyone be able to answer that?
Yeah, I can answer that. I was just searching for the unmute button.
Sorry.
So, I mean, obviously, depending on where you are in your degree, we would love it if you could, you know, get a stats program course. I know that there are some that we offer in forestry that we allow. There's also one sort of across campus that we allow. It doesn't necessarily need to be, you know, course code stat. I know that there's some in biology, there's some in forestry that sort of all count, or that we would take as equivalent. And I would, would like to sort of say that just because if you don't have sort of one thing, it doesn't mean that you're an ineligible sort of candidate for the program. Obviously, we would like every sort of incoming student to sort of have everything that we possibly ask for, but we also know that that's not always a reality. And so I would encourage someone to highlight other strengths that they have, that they think they would bring to the program. If there's absolutely no way that you could get a stats course from an undergraduate degree, that you could do one of the Coursera courses and show us a certificate saying that you're trying to continue to learning to get these other skills that you don't have, because we do recognize that not everyone can sort of get every single course when they're applying to the program. I don't know if anyone else has anything that they would like to add.
I can add that if this is somebody who has graduated and they're still in Vancouver at UBC, you can apply to UBC as an unclassified student, and then take one of our undergrad statistics courses next term, and at least have that showing on your transcript when you apply that you're currently in the course, even if you haven't finished it yet. But that's only to say if you're currently in Vancouver and interested in doing another course at UBC after your graduation. And I think TRU also has an online course too. So in the past, I've seen people from Thompson Rivers University take their statistics course through directed studies as well.
Great tips. Thanks, everyone. That's excellent. Okay, we're almost at time now. Professor Coops, can I pass it back to you? Maybe if you had any final words or thoughts.
Sure. And Satyam asked for my email address, so I'm certainly happy to give it. Is there a follow-up email that we're sending to the participants, Shane, where contact information is there, or how do students get our contact details?
I believe so. I mean, you're welcome to type your email address into the chat if you want to share it with everybody.
Yes, yeah. I don't know if everyone can see that. Can everyone see it if I type in a chat, or only the panelists?
Yeah, you should be able to change the filter so it sends it to everybody. You should be able to do that. Yeah, we can see that. Oh, sorry, no.
I see everyone. I can do it. Hold on.
Perfect.
Okay.
That's great. That's great.
So yeah, Satyam, you're welcome to reach out to me if it was. Oh, sorry, Han Chen, you're welcome to reach out to me and we can talk about that. That's my email there. Yeah, so thank you very much for those of you that have come and joined the call. I hope that we've answered the questions that you have. Our emails are there, so this is an important decision that you're making, and you're not going to get all of your concerns and questions answered in 1 hour. So we are ready to help you think about if this is the right program for you over the next few months. We know that you're looking at other programs, so we're more than happy to answer questions that you might have. We want you to come into this program fully aware and open about what it's going to be like, so you can get the maximum out of it while you're here. So if that means you asking me lots of questions, then I'm more than happy to answer all of those questions. So we are looking forward very much to seeing your applications come in. We often see the names come in with the applications and pick them up and see, oh yeah, that was a person who was on one of the webinars. So it's great that it's great to see the people come to these things and then ultimately apply. So we very much appreciate people's time for calling in, and I hope you found it informative. Thanks, Shane.
Brilliant. Thank you, Professor Coops, and thanks to everyone, all of the panelists. That was really great, really insightful. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks to everybody for listening in today. We will be following up with an email soon, and we'll hopefully see you at UBC Vancouver soon as well. But we'll say goodbye for now. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.